new surge of migrants crossing the Rio Grande is overwhelming shelters in Texas, and the numbers of migrants could grow as Title 42 restrictions are set to expire. That policy was put in place amid the COVID-19 pandemic, allowing the federal government to turn away migrants seeking asylum. The court-ordered end to the policy could bring an even larger spike in border crossings, and that's bringing new urgency to find short-term and long-term solutions. This is a look at the end of migrants' physical journey to America. But the journey to stay in the U.S. is far from over once they cross the Rio Grande. Over the last 5 weeks, the number of migrants in Border Patrol custody has been sharply rising, according to the city of El Paso.
Absolutely unsustainable and frankly an unacceptable situation.
El Paso Congresswoman Veronica Escobar says this is creating an unprecedented strain on the community, and she's calling for the feds to send even more resources.
It was working.
Republicans, however, say solutions lie in reinstating Trump-era policies.
Is the Remain in Mexico policy, the migrant protection protocols, which deals with political asylum. We have to end catch and release.
Do you think Title 42 should be extended?
Of course.
Immigration policy experts like Doris Meissner say Congress needs real reform now.
The real failing here is Congress's inability politically and procedurally to grapple with immigration reform legislation that would make it possible for the executive branch to actually administer the border.
She says federal laws need updating so that seeking asylum isn't the only current pathway for entry.
Everybody now is trying to apply for asylum because it's the only way that they can get access to the United States. We actually do have reasons for people to immigrate legally to the country, but our laws are not in any way set up or aligned with ways to meet those interests.
We heard from Austin Congressman Michael McCaul in that story. He's the ranking member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, and he'll likely lead that influential committee once Republicans officially take back the House in January. I asked him more about the changes he believes need to be made to address the growing number of border crossings.
What should Congress be doing to change our asylum-seeking laws? As we've been hearing from people on the ground there, that's a major problem right now, and the differences of how to process those folks who are escaping actual really threatening situations in their home countries.
You know, and I've dealt with this issue ever since I was in the U.S. Attorney's Office, right, in my hometown in Austin, chairman of the Homeland Security Committee. What they see is the rescission of Title 42, which was a way to deport people at the border based on health reasons. The administration has basically given an announcement that's going to be lifted. And so now you're seeing another surge. But I go back to the policies that were working that I had worked on as well. And that is the Remain in Mexico policy, the migrant protection protocols, which deals with political asylum. We have to end catch and release, but we also have to go back to remain in country of origin when they apply for political asylum. Because once they touch base in the United States, because we don't have detention space, because of catch and release, they're released into our society and they disappear. If they remain in country of origin, like in Mexico or Central America, then once their claim is adjudicated, they can either come into the United States or remain in their country of origin. In fact, only 15% of these claims are legitimate political persecution claims, and they have every right to come in if they have that. But if it's just based on economic, that's not sufficient under the law. So I would say we'd have to go back to that policy. Unfortunately, it's gotten way too politicized. So I'm going to be the incoming chairman of Foreign Affairs. I plan to go down to Mexico and Central America and talk to them about these political asylum agreements that maybe we could enter into with these countries that then would actually stop this at its very origin.
Is there anything Congress should do in the short term, though, with Title 42 ending? What can we be doing right now to help with this as we keep seeing surges of migrants down at our Texas-Mexico border?
Well, we have our big spending bill, and I think we need to make it clear in there that we, bipartisan, want this policy extended. Now, how can we have all this money going for COVID relief, right, domestically, and yet lift the Title 42 restrictions to allow people we don't know anything about come into the United States and not even test them, but then not be able to deport them if, say, we can test and they have COVID. I mean, this is, it makes no sense to me.
Do you think Title 42, though, is a little bit of a Band-Aid as we come out of the COVID-19 pandemic?
I think it is. I think eventually, if we can't get this political asylum process under control, we're going to continue to have this problem at the border.
The latest surge of migrants is happening even though Title 42 is still in effect. One challenge is that many people crossing come from countries like Venezuela and Nicaragua, and the United States has limited diplomatic relationships with those countries, so it's difficult to send those people back to their home country. Instead, under the law, they're able to apply for asylum. That issue will continue whether or not Title 42 stays in place. The Biden administration has negotiated with Mexico to take some Venezuelan migrants. The administration is also looking at ways to let people apply for asylum in their home countries without having to make that trek to the border. A long-awaited report gives new information about Texans dying because of pregnancy or childbirth complications.
Every mom's life matters, and we have to work to solve it as if our own lives depended on it.
What we're learning from the report and how the data could lead to legislation in the upcoming session.